Hi, I'm Jennie Goutet. I'm the author of historical romance, Regency and Georgian era. I wanted to do videos a little bit more frequently and tell you a bit about myself, a little bit about my author journey, what I'm working on, things that are related to writing or books. I held off because I felt like everything had to sort of be perfect. Like, I'm not perfect. Not gonna happen. So I want to do the videos. I just have to do them with me completely as is. So here's a little bit about me. I live in the suburbs of Paris. Our house, which used to be quite small, it was only 55 square meters when we bought it, which is a little bit under 600 square feet. We've transformed it. We did the downstairs. This is downstairs. The ceilings are kind of small. We did our bedroom. And it's a split level, so normal floor we kind of opened up, and instead of having rooms, we opened up the whole space, and we just have the kitchen, bathroom, and then all of the living room and dining room areas. Did the upstairs, we redid the attic and everything. So it's a 1928 house, but you can see what my office looks like. This is a video of it. It's cute. I do all my work here. I love it. Very comfortable. I usually listen to classical music when I'm working to get inspired, especially Rachmaninoff. That's my favorite. So I'm married to a Frenchman. We met in New York City. We have 3 kids. I have my eldest is 21. She studies illustration and animation. My second son is 19 and he studies business. And my youngest is going to be a senior in high school and loves basketball. So that's his thing. I love living in France. It's not glamorous. I'd like to show more about when I go out, little videos and things like that. Sometimes it's glamorous. Sometimes I'm like, wow, I cannot believe I live here. And on top of it, I'm gluten intolerant. I have celiac disease, so I cannot enjoy all of the delicious, croissant and pain au chocolat and like all the patisserie that they have here. But I can eat the cheese. I also don't drink alcohol, so I can't have like the full French experience. But a lot of the times, like checking up on neighbors who are ill, doing the laundry, having a gardener come and just like put order to our tangled garden. We're very involved in church, which is kind of spread out over Paris. So we have got friends that live in all corners, and so we do a lot for that. Just some other things about me. I grew up reading a lot of classical literature. We spent a ton of time at the library. I loved Little House on the Prairie, Anne of Green Gables, Chronicle of Narnia, The Boxcar Children, like all of this. I just devoured it. And then when I was in high school, I started reading Jane Austen and things like Vanity Fair. I think I read my first Dickens, but I just really started to get interested in the classics. I'm the daughter of a symphony musician, although he's retired. My dad is retired now. One of the things I love is the sound of the orchestra warming up. I love that. I love Chanel perfume. That's not Chanel other things, but Chanel perfume. I love the wind. We go to Brittany every year, and I love the wind. I love the rocky cliffs, the cold water, everything like that. Totally love that. I love vanilla soft serve ice cream. I love coffee, like extra strong black. Love that. I love the sound of mourning doves. Hanging up sheets to dry or clothes to dry in the garden. I love that, So these are some of the things that I like. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my author's journey. I did want to write a book, and I wrote stuff, like I wrote poems or, just little short stories. I wrote a book when I was in 8th grade called Pigtails to Lipstick or something like that. It's really revolutionary and unlike anything else. And I attempted to write when I was older. I decided I was going to write fantasy. I wrote about 10 chapters, but nothing happens. I put all that aside. I was like, I am not a writer. After I graduated from college, I did a lot of traveling. So I went to Taiwan for a year. I learned Mandarin, and I was in New York City, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll do acting or something like that. Didn't really work out. Moved back to Taiwan for another year because I was like getting paid well, and it was just kind of something interesting to do. I had met a French boyfriend in New York City, and so I went to Paris, stayed a year there. Things didn't work out, and I moved back to New York City. And at this point, I was like, okay, I need a job. I need insurance. I need to grow up a little bit here. I was 25 years old. I got a job selling financial advertising in Asia. For 2 years, I traveled all over Asia, sold advertising. Then I got married. My husband and I went to Africa for a year. This was during September 11th. New York, our apartment was in New York, in Lower Manhattan, and all of our friends were there, so that was really challenging. Then I had Juliet. We moved to France. I always knew that my husband would want to come back because all of his family is here. So we moved to France and had my 2 boys. I started a blog. I really found my groove because I could share stuff about my life. I shared recipes. I could share things about France. And the blog was called, and it's still online, it's called The Lady in France. And people would read. I would post about all of my adventures and things like that, and people would read it and say, oh, you should write a book, you should write a memoir. And that's like, I'm not capable of writing something this long. My life was all over the place. There was no congruity to it. So I kind of put that aside. And what ended up happening is I had a second-term miscarriage. There was a lot of grief involved with that. I guess part of the healing process, I wrote my memoir, and I was able to find common elements. So I wrote about, it's called Stars Upside Down, a memoir of travel, grief, and an incandescent God. So I talked about kind of my journey to faith, talked about all the travel that I had done and what we had lived through, like in Africa. I talked about my kids and just adjusting to life in France as a young mother. It was, self-published. It did really well, I think partly because I had a lot of support from the blogging community, and, it's still for sale now. When I was done with that, I realized I want to write books. I said, okay, if I want to write books, I need to come up with some fiction. Decide, okay, I'm going to put it up. I'm going to write a contemporary romance. I'm going to put it up, 1 chapter at a time on my blog. And that way I'm forced to keep going. Got some encouragement there, and I was able to publish it. I was really proud of myself and everything like this. Passion was in historical romance. And I think a lot of that, I think part of it is just because I grew up reading things like North and South, Pride and Prejudice, and there was something beautiful about these romances that developed sort of slowly in the classics. I had also discovered Georgette Hare. I was a little bit snobbish about romance, I think. When I read Georgette Hare, I was like, well, these are clearly romances, and she's so clever. Her dialogue is so witty and just it's so good. And so I wrote my first Regency book called A Regrettable Proposal. Submitted it to a small to mid-sized publisher. I quickly wrote the second, which is A Faithful Proposal. And that was kind of when it just kept selling, people kept buying it. And I was like, wow, this is what it's like to be a career author. This is incredible. I currently have 18 books written. One of them is not going to be out until June of 2026. It's called A Loved One's Lost, and I signed with Haven Publishing. But for the rest, they are not only all published, but they are available on my YouTube channel. You can feel free to listen to them for free with ads. Please remember that they are also available on library apps like Libby, Overdrive, and Hoopla. I want my books to be accessible to everybody. So that is kind of the synopsis of how I became a writer.